Every time a new phone comes across my desk that I intend to review, I'll take my SIM card out of the phone that I'm currently using and put it into that new one so that I'm forced to spend my time actually testing it. Once I'm finished reviewing that phone, I'll do one of two things. I'll either start testing another new phone if there's one that's been released, or I'll go back to what I call my main phone. And that main phone over the past 7 or 8 months has been the iPhone 13 Pro Max. I've tested quite a few phones over the past half a year, but despite how good most of them were, like, the Pixel 6 Pro, S21 FE, S22 Ultra, etc., I keep coming back to this one. And there are many reasons for that, which I'll go over in this video. None of the reasons are in any particular order of importance, but the first thing that comes to mind whenever I talk about the 13 Pro Max is the battery life. This phone has insane battery life that'll even rival some tablets. It will run circles around the S22 Ultra, and that is no small feat. Now, I'm not usually a super heavy phone user, but I normally use my phone for about, 4-ish hours a day at least, and I can almost get 2 full days out of the 13 Pro Max. If it's a light day and I'm not doing any photo taking or video recording, I can easily get 2 full days out of it. It's kind of ridiculous. You can run it down a lot faster by doing things that require a lot of power from the A15 Bionic though, and I think the best example of that is recording 4K ProRes 422 from the rear cameras in an app like ProTake. But even just the fact that you can do something like that in a phone is another reason I keep coming back to the 13 Pro Max. The cameras in this phone are lovely, especially for video. The photo quality is great too, don't get me wrong, but I'm a video guy first and foremost. When I went on my 4,000 kilometer road trip with the Hyundai Ioniq 5, I took my 13 Pro Max as well as a few dedicated video cameras like the Sony a6400 and Sony ZV-1. Do you know which camera I ended up using the most? The ones on this phone. Once I started seeing the images coming out of this phone, it was a no-brainer. I mean, the shots were sharp with excellent color, and the bitrate was pretty high given that it was ProRes 422, so there wasn't much of a loss of detail either. Pair that with the fact that it actually fits in my pocket, and I rarely wanted to use anything else. Even the stabilization built into the cameras are excellent. I don't think I pulled out my gimbal once on the entire trip. I shot a lot outdoors too, and the display is very easy to see, even in direct sunlight, which is where reason number 3 comes in. The display on the 13 Pro Max is excellent. It reaches a maximum brightness of about 1200-ish nits, which isn't actually the brightest panel on the market, but it is pretty close. More importantly, the colors on this display have always been great, and they feel very natural because of that true tone setting. If you want the most color accurate image, you'd turn that setting off, but I find it easier on the eyes with it on. The Pro Max also finally got Pro Motion when it was released late last year, so this display runs at 120 Hz. I'll be honest, I think if they kept going with the 60 Hz displays, I would not still be using this phone. Almost every single display in my house now runs at least 120 Hz. The MacBook Pro, the 49-inch ultra-wide, most of the Android phones I have, and now, finally, my iPhone. Then there's the ecosystem stuff. Oh boy. This is one of those things that I'm bound to pick up a little bit of flack from the diehard Android crowd, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway, right after I take a quick minute to thank the sponsor of this video, Ecovacs. This is the most advanced robotic vacuum cleaner I've ever seen, the Deebot X1 Omni. It's got 5,000 PA of suction power, dual 180 RPM spinning mops, a built-in voice assistant, and it is fully automatic in just about every way you can imagine. It's got cameras and lasers to detect obstacles and avoid them, mapping technology that builds both 2D and 3D layouts of your home for pinpoint accuracy and efficiency, and best of all, once it's finished thoroughly cleaning your house, it goes back to the Auto Everything Omni charging station, which, like the name would suggest, takes care of everything. It auto empties the dustbin into a disposable bag, automatically refills the vacuum with clean water for the mopping brushes, and as crazy as it sounds, it also scrubs the dirt off the mops and dries them with hot air. Depending on how often your vacuum cleans your house, all you have to do is refill the clean water tank every once in a while and dump out the dirty water tank. That's it. The X1 Omni takes care of the rest. Pick up your vacuum today using the link in the description below. So here's the deal. I am all over the place when it comes to operating systems for phones and computers. I have a 14-inch MacBook Pro for my video editing stuff, a custom-built RTX 3080 PC, and a Steam Deck for gaming and casual use, and I flip-flop between Android and iOS all the time for both my tablets and phones. I'm about as tech diversified as you can possibly get when it comes to all of the different tech ecosystems, but when I switch back to using an iPhone as my main phone, my day-to-day life gets just a little bit easier. Nothing life-changing, but enough to notice. The thing with Apple is that they control the entire experience, from the hardware all the way down to the software. Their products are basically built from the ground up to sort of play nice with each other, whereas a lot of the time with Android, the hardware and software could be split between multiple brands, and the user experience is not always as perfect as it could be. Here's a perfect example of this at the most basic level. The Notes app. It doesn't matter if I'm using my iPad, my iPhone, or my MacBook, the Notes app is always synced across all three. No third-party apps or separate logins required. AirDrop's another example, and it's mentioned a lot when we talk about the benefits of iOS. It's built straight into the operating system, and I can use it very quickly to easily transfer my files from my MacBook to my iPhone and vice versa. No fuss, and it works every time. And then there's the fact that Apple products just work so well with one another. I can switch my AirPods Pro from my iPhone to my iPad to my MacBook very quickly and easily by just playing audio on any of the devices. And then if I get a call on my phone, the AirPods automatically switch back as soon as I take the call. Of course, there are Android equivalent solutions for all of these problems, and I use the word problem very lightly there, but in my opinion, none of them are quite as seamless. I want to stress here that the entire point that I'm trying to make is purely personal preference. You may have all of Samsung products and enjoy their ecosystem even more, and to their credit, Samsung has actually improved a lot in that regard over the past few years. But whenever I personally get stuck back into Apple's sticky ecosystem web, I don't mind. There are other reasons I still enjoy my 13 Pro Max too. Things like great performance, good stereo sound from the speakers, good call quality, etc. But those are things that I come to expect from every flagship phone, so those reasons don't really stand out. There definitely are some improvements that Apple could make to the iPhone 13 that would make the iPhone 14 even better though. Can you guess what number 1 is on my wish list? A USB-C port. According to leaks, Apple is reportedly testing USB-C charging on the iPhone 14 because of the whole USB-C mandate proposal from the EU, but those leaks seem to drop every single year, so at this point, I don't really know what to believe. I don't even care about the faster charging speed from a USB-C port. That's not at all what I'm after. I usually charge my phone wirelessly anyway, so whatever. I want faster data transfer speeds. Lightning cables transfer data at USB 2 speeds, so a maximum of 60 megabytes per second, and it usually transfers even slower than that. When you're dealing with 4K ProRes footage, those speeds are just not gonna cut it. Another thing I'd like to see is the removal of that stupid little notch. I mean, that thing's been around since 2017, and it didn't even look that great back then. Again, leaks are pointing towards Apple removing the notch in favor of some weird looking pill and hole punch cutout, but who knows, maybe they'll just shrink it again. The last thing I'd like to see is a 4th camera for a longer focal length. 3x zooms are great and all, but when you put it up to the 10x zoom on the S22 Ultra, it just doesn't look nearly as impressive. Anyway, those are my reasons for why I still use the iPhone 13 Pro Max as my main phone. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day.